Good afternoon or good evening, everybody. Had an interesting, interesting turn of events today. When you try to be, to fit in. You try to be nice, and the truth is, you try to do what you really believe in, and you still offend people. And I understand, and I understand that different people have different opinions, and I appreciate that, and I respect that. I believe in diversity of thought, but it's fascinating, and I respect that there are different views. But I find it fascinating how just automatically, if I don't go along with the orthodoxy, and I don't mean necessarily Orthodox Judaism, although I was kind of going against the orthodoxy of Orthodox Judaism also. You get, but also the kind of woke orthodoxy that I was unaware of and I really wasn't paying attention to be honest. And you get in trouble. You offend people, and it's just I don't understand it. But I'll tell you the story, and you can tell me what you think about this. So I one thing that I do that's not very orthodox of me is I'm a member of the New York Board of Rabbis. I pay my dues and I participate in whatever I'm able to participate in with them. Not that there's not that much I'm able to participate with them in, but every now and then I like to participate. The main reason why I joined the New York Board of Rabbis was to try to get a job as a prison chaplain, and in the end I got one in Pennsylvania and didn't need the New York Board of Rabbis, but still, just for whatever reason, not even sure why, I maintained my membership even though the mainstream yeshivas and even right-wing modern Orthodox generally would say it's forbidden to be a member of New York Board of Rabbis because Rabbi Moshe Feinstein was of that opinion, and I know many of my rebbeim are strict about that. But beim Inserer Heimische Saduganig, Rabbi Glanz and a few other from the Williamsburg Chevra who, decide to join the New York Board of Rabbis because they want to be prison chaplains. And they didn't see a problem that Ramosha said that because they're not Litvakas, they're von Inserer Heimische and Garische Chassidische Chevra, right? And although Rabbi Glanz got into some trouble as a chaplain, it was because he made a bar mitzvah or something, brought Shweki to come sing in the prison, and got some food, which really is not a problem, but the media made it a problem. He really didn't do anything wrong, but he wound up losing his job because of the bad press. Meanwhile, the same time, another chaplain from a different faith was like smuggling in weapons, and somehow the rabbi making the bar mitzvah was a bigger scandal than the chaplain who was smuggling in knives and box cutters. But anyway, so that's my background. Why am I a member? But when I was in Virginia and I was the Rav in the shul, I always participated in interfaith and interdenominational types of things, and I was kind of a pariah among the Orthodox for that. But I do what I do, and I am what I am, and I don't apologize generally unless I really think I'm wrong or I'm not sure if I'm wrong. Sometimes I'll apologize out of doubt, and I'll certainly apologize if I offended someone and that was not my intent, even if I'm not apologizing necessarily for the deed that offended someone. And that's kind of what is here, is that my intent was not to offend, and I really thought... Anyway, today they had the New York Board of Rabbis annual meeting on Zoom. It was about an hour, and the only real participation that I had in it was that they made a vote that I was very personally excited about and supportive of, and now maybe I'm conflicted about, but I'm a little confused and I really don't know what I did wrong. But here it goes. So, New York Board of Rabbis, and the reason why Orthodox, Jews generally don't participate in it is because it's interdenominational, and they accept the Reform and the Conservative and the Reconstructionist and the Renewal and all of these other various groups and some other groups as members in their group. And basically the way it works is the New York Board of Rabbis relies on you being a member of a national organization. And so, for example, I'm a member of two national rabbinical organizations, which are kind of opponents to each other. But I'm a member of the Igud Rabbonim, which is called the Rabbinical Alliance of America, and the Rabbinical Union of America, which is a breakaway, really, of the Igud Rabbonim, and kind of in opposition to the Igud Rabbonim, because I don't really know the whole politics of it, but I try to avoid these types of politics. I have kids learning in both Satmars, and I'm kind of proud of that I didn't take sides in these politics, and I respect both Satmar Rebbes. When I was a bocher and I would go to Borough Park, I'd make a point to go for a few minutes to attend the tish of both Bobber Rebbes. I don't like to get into political fights with these types of things. I'm not talking about politics of American politics. I'm talking about religious politics. I've always been kind of a neutral party, respecting both sides, not taking sides. Certainly within the Orthodox Hasidic world, and I'm very proud that I have shown respect to both branches of Satmar, in doing this, and where my kids go to school. I have one daughter who's, who, even though a lot of her peers attend Reb Zalman Leib school or the B'nai Yol school in Kiryas Joel, I specifically send her to Reb Aaron's school, and my other girls are in Bloomingburg. That's Reb Zalman Leib, and I'm not taking sides. I respect both of them, and I like both of them, and they're two different people, but that's not what we're talking about here. And I don't even kind of remember how we got to this talking about Satmar. We'll take a little break now. I'm going to pause this recording again. All right. So I figured out why it was that I was talking about Satmar politics, which was not my subject, but rather these two rabbinical organizations. I maintain membership in both. And I know they are probably at odds with one another. I don't really know all the details, and I really don't want to know. But the point is that I'm kind of proud, not in a boastful or proud way, but I'm happy. I feel that I'm doing the right thing by maintaining membership in both. Probably the one maybe has helped me a little bit more than the other, but they both there's probably a little bit a certain type of prestige in being a member of an older organization. But either way, as it is, the Igud Rabbonim, and that's might be one of the issues, was that Igud Rabbonim, you can affords you membership in the New York Board of Rabbis. Theoretically, I guess the RUA could, but I think they're kind of making a point that they don't. I'm not quite sure about that, but that's that seems to be what they're pointing toward. But either way, the point what I'm saying is that for me to be a member of the New York Board of Rabbis, I have to be a member of a national organization. They make some exceptions, but it's very difficult to get that exception. They really prefer that you're a member of a national organization. And the reason why I joined the Iggud Rabbanim really only so I could be a member of the New York Board of Rabbis. So it is what it is. Anyway, so here we are. So that's the point. Is that and in order to be a member of the New York Board of Rabbis, you could be a member of the RCA. You could be a member of Morasha, which is the traditional movement, the kind of between conservative and orthodox. You could be a member of the RFI, which is Avi Weiss's group. You could be a member of the Rabbinical Assembly, which is a conservative movement. You could be a member of the CCAR, which is the reform movement. You could be a member of whatever, the Reconstructionist, the Aleph, which is the Renewal, and I think they have one or two more. And so today, they said after about a year of deliberation and discussion on this subject, they made a move to accept an organization called the International Israelite Rabbinical Board as being members in the New York Board of Rabbis, meaning that members of the International Israelite Rabbinical Board are eligible, because of their membership in IARB, to be members of the New York Board of Rabbis. Just like being a member of CCAR or Rabbinical Alliance affords, or Aleph, I don't mean the Chabad Aleph, I mean the Renewal Aleph, which is also has Chabad roots actually, because Reb Zalman was a Lubavitcher Shliach actually, together with Shlomo Carlebach. So, or the Reb Zalman put on a Streimel, I think he's really a Babaver, but he was like a Shliach of the Friediger Rebbe actually. Anyway, you have these various groups, whatever, and so what was recommended by the board and was put up to vote is, could IARB become members? And my feeling was, and this was mentioned, the chief rabbi of the IRB is Capers Funay, who incidentally, a lot of people know, he is Michelle Obama's cousin. And he is the rabbi of a congregation in Norton, in Chicago. He has a synagogue, and the practices in the synagogue are probably what would be called conservadox. A little bit to the right of conservative, or would be like traditional conservative, leaning toward orthodoxy. The really only thing that's not orthodox is they, at least Caper, the Rabbi Funay, his conversion was conservative, and the same thing, the people in the community there, they did not undergo any type of an orthodox conversion, although quite often some conservative conversions are halachic, for lack of a better term, if not orthodox. And also, it would seem that their beliefs and their practices are more similar to orthodoxy. They use an orthodox siddur, they use an art scroll siddur. They have separate seating with no mechitza, which is more than a lot of Orthodox shuls had in the 1950s in America. and they, a lot of them had mixed seating, and they also, but they have a very type of a black culture in the shul. Similar to a lot of black churches that have a distinctly black culture, and some of the people wear different, traditional African clothing and this and that. And you do have these communities that are adherent to orthodoxy, but there are questions as to the legitimacy of their Jewish identities. And for that reason, some of them have undergone conversions, and there's been different discussions as to whether or not they require conversions within their communities. I think, outside of their communities, there's really no question that most of the members of these communities would require some kind of a conversion. But there is this, this history, and it's an old, this particular organization is over a century old, and they're seeking a certain level of integration into the mainstream Jewish community. And they are distinct from the more vocal, racist, separatist, cultish black Hebrew Israelites. At least that's my understanding, and that's how it was presented. And I was aware of this. I was aware that Rabbi Funay was a member of the Chicago Board of Rabbis, and he himself expressed some qualms about whether or not the Orthodox members would accept him. And it was one of the Orthodox rabbis there who said specifically that he would not be a member if they did not accept Rabbi Funay as a member. And there's no reason not to accept him. And that's kind of my feeling, particularly. And my feeling is, if we are not accepting, if we are accepting the reform into whatever type of group we're talking about, I feel that it's just as appropriate to accept this community, perhaps even more so, because reform, when they do their conversions, there's no mikveh involved often. Sometimes there is. No Beis Din. Even usually when there is a mikveh, there's not usually a Beis Din. I know some reform converts who pushed and to say that they have to, against the will of their rabbi, I want to convert in a mikveh, and these types of things. So, with that being said, my feeling was that, this seems to be a lot more Jewish than reform. So if we have an organization that accepts the reform, it would be hypocritical and racist to not accept the IARB. Well, I posted this on a Facebook group, kind of proud of myself that here, look at how liberal I am, that I'm accepting, this group into this community, and that's what I'm talking about here. So anyway, did I get it? I got yelled at in type, and whole long tirades about how wrong it was of me, and these were from a black rabbi who was Orthodox, and how it's not fair that we're lumping together with these people and this and that. And I'm confused, because I'm not lumping together. I'm not saying that, a Hasidic guy who wears a shtreimel and lives in Borough Park, happens to be black, has anything to do with Capers Funei. And the same thing, this rabbi is modern Orthodox. I don't think he has any connection to Capers Funei. My point is, if we're accepting the reform, and I also would not say that Capers Funei belongs in as a member of any kind of an Orthodox group. If Capers Funei, wanted to join the Igad Rabbonim, or one of these organizations that are Orthodox that I'm a member of, I would not. I would not be encouraging that unless he, underwent an Orthodox conversion and had a Orthodox smicha, But if we're accepting the reform, we should accept this group. That's just my feeling, I'm not saying that they are halachically Jewish, but I'm saying that in a world where Marilyn Monroe is Jewish, or was Jewish, these folks should be Jewish. So, but again, this whole fight, I mean, these folks were very offended. This rabbi, particularly in his Rebbitzin, were extremely offended. And they said, why wasn't, any Jews of color consulted about this? I don't know if they were or wasn't. I know that there are, and I'm not associating them with this, and maybe, a lot of it probably is similar to like, the people who were Nation of Islam who became Salafi, and that connection there, and the integration into mainstream Orthodox Islam of people who came from these backgrounds. It's very complicated. I don't know what to say. I can't say, am I right, am I wrong in accepting them into it's wrong enough for me to be a member of an interdenominational rabbinical organization. That's probably a bigger scandal. I'm sure they would have voted to accept them without my vote, but I felt I did the right thing in voting for it. And again, I wouldn't vote to include Capers Funei into Igor Rabbonim, but I would vote to include this Rabbi Rishon, who was upset about it, into the Igor Rabbonim or whatever other organization, So, I don't know. If I could have some guidance on this, I would appreciate it. Because I don't know, did I do something wrong? Did I not do something wrong? Tell me in the comments below. Because I'm not that educated about this subject. I'm under the impression, something that I read that said that the term Hebrew Israelite originally applied to groups that had Orthodox theology and practice, and was later stolen and appropriated by these cult groups that have some Christological beliefs, tend to be more racist, and there's two different worlds in these groups, and just because they both use the same name, and a lot of them have been saying they don't want to use the word Hebrew Israelite because it is associated with these cult groups. And I don't have a problem with these quote-unquote cult groups being what they are, and I would not say that Israel United in Christ could join the New York Board of Rabbis, but I think there's a difference between the International Israelite Board of Rabbis and Israel United in Christ. Should go without saying, because obviously their names, point that out. But Israel United in Christ is almost like a hate group. Maybe not 100%, but they have like a lot of racism in them and so forth. Um, I don't believe IRB does. And even if there's a certain type of a racial element to it, they don't believe themselves united in Christ. They're not Christians. I did a wedding for a Hebrew Israelite couple recently. Um, so, but they were Hebrew Israelite. They were not part of this group, and I wouldn't say that they belong with the New York Board of Rabbis. You know, so but someone educate me, because what's being explained to me is that no, these groups, they are problematic, but I don't see how they're different than the Reform. And they're saying, well, because they were Christian in origin. Yeah, but Capers Fournier made a conservative conversion. They said, well, that's just him, but not all of his followers. But again, that could also be the same type of idea that not everybody who goes to Chabad shul uh, is halachically observant, or even a young Israel shul, and especially out of town. You tell me. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. We'll see you later.